Vanessa.
Hi, Jack. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Happy winter in Toronto.
Happy winter in Toronto. There's nothing worse than being inside with a kid in the winter, as you will find living here in wintry, snowy Canada.
I'm from California.
And Vanessa is a mom and neighbor and friend from across the street. And we've had some pretty interesting, candid conversations about some hot mummy topics.
This is a personal favorite of mine.
We're going to talk about breastfeeding. There's been like a ton of controversy. I know when I had my daughter, Maddie, I was really fortunate. I was able to, she latched on right away. I was able to, with like fenugreek and all that stuff, I was able to get some milk going. I did it for about 10 months and then she just was like, I'm done with you, lady. I sort of feel like that was payback for all of the horrible labor stuff that I went through.
I had a very easy pregnancy and a very easy labor.
All right.
I thought that I would have a very easy time breastfeeding and had great breast, full of beautiful milk. But Catherine, my daughter, screamed her mother freaking head off every single time.
That you tried to nurse? Like every time you tried
She would arch her back, turn bright red, and just freaking scream. To the point where we took her to the doctor and put her on acid reflux. I have no idea if that was actually the problem. Because at this point, I didn't care. I was so over it. I hated being a mother. I hated nursing. I hated every aspect of it. Basically, just was like, forget it. So I stopped nursing her, started giving her formula. Had the best advice from my stepmom was, stop doing this and don't ever think about it again.
Great advice.
Great advice from an older woman who has had multiple kids.
Well, let's face it, your stepmom, probably when she had her first kid, nursing, breastfeeding would have been lowbrow.
My grandmother, also 4 kids, farm raised, it was lowbrow. So she didn't even remember the name of the formula she used to give. It used to come frozen because back when she gave birth, they kept women in the hospital for 10 days afterwards to sleep while the babies were in the nursery. So she never nursed. The milk would just stop. 4 kids, healthy as ox, never had an ounce of breast milk. When I was explaining to her the guilt I was feeling over not nursing Catherine successfully, she thought I was nuts. I told her that other women talk about this. She thought that was insane. She was like, I can't remember a girlfriend ever telling me whether or not she nursed her child one way or the other. It wasn't even like a verb. It was so strange to her. I think we know more science-wise and we know the benefits of breast milk. So of course you want to give your child everything that you think is beneficial. But I really sat there and I thought about it and I said, what is more beneficial? Me not liking her screaming all the time, hating the experience, my husband being stressed because he can't help, or just stopping this. We're done with it. Well, I have to say, every mother thinks their kid's perfect. Catherine is freaking perfect. There's nothing wrong with her.
I've seen her. She's perfect.
And she's been on formula since she was 2 months old. I know also the breastfeeding takes time, and a lot of mothers, so lower socioeconomic spheres, are, don't get pump breaks for Christ's sake. That's the dumbest thing in the world to think that every mom in the world is entitled to her boardroom. Well, that means you're in an office building to begin with. But plenty of people who are incredible physical specimens probably were a little too busy trying to get any sort of food for their family and working double shift jobs to, pull out their Medela pumps that cost $400.
They're like buying a car.
So, breastfeeding, of course, you want to do it if you can, but you also need to recognize that for a lot of women, medically or otherwise, or just psychologically, it's torture. And then for a lot of women, don't have the time. And I think that it's really important that as moms, everybody wants their kids to be happy, wants to be happy with their friends and support each other, that we recognize that a lot of the stuff that we say is beneficial is actually a privilege of our class. You're not comfortable recognizing that to nurse every couple of hours for a half hour at a time means somebody else is earning enough money to pay for your rent or mortgage. You're not really looking in that truly at the cost is associated with it, nor are you looking at what the cost of a woman's time is. I went back to work at 5 months and no way in hell was I able to take pump breaks?
I wonder if that's
like,
is that an American thing? I don't know. Do we have pump breaks in Canada?
I don't know if it's mandated, but in the US the law is that they have to give you a private space to pump.
Maybe
But
there,
that means that you're allowed to take a half-hour break every 4 hours.
Oh, so you can already hear the resentment.
I mean,
what
kind of a job is that?
What if you're a union worker
Exactly.
with scheduled breaks? You
Or-
get 2 15s and a half an hour lunch, and yet she gets like every half an hour,
Or you're a
half
teacher.
an hour.
So it is great if you are able to nurse your child for many years, but that's probably because you had the time.
And I do blame, like, shame. I blame the media. I blame all the literature in the hospital. That doesn't make you feel like it's a privilege to nurse. They make you feel like
it's an obligation.
it is a responsibility to
Yeah.
you as a mom, and if you don't do it, then you're a bad mom. And then I read mom blogs about this nonsense.
Yeah.
Stop it. Stop with this
You're
crap.
not a bad mom unless you're a bad mom.
Yeah, mom is like being angry at your kid all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Or
Not
being
actually-
a bad wife, or or just being an unhappy, miserable person.
Yeah.
Another thing I want to point out is that the World Health Organization, who's so pro breastfeeding,
Yeah.
is pro breastfeeding because there's unclean water in these other countries.
Right.
So they can't mix formula safely. Breast milk is so important in those cultures because they don't have a safe alternative.
Right.
Our water's clean. They're the ones, the World Health Organization is the one who's really the one, that's what's starting the pro breastfeeding. And there's a very practical reason for that. Formula here, if it's the kind you're buying at Loblaws with the seal on it and the water you're giving them is completely fine for your child.
When I couldn't get enough milk, I mean, I did stress about it,
Yeah.
and we just topped her up with formula.
Exactly.
And if you've ever seen my kid, she seems perfectly
She's
fine to me.
completely fine. So, long story short, whether you're a new mom or has done this a million times or just about to become a mom, whatever you have to do to make yourself a happy mom, a happy wife, and a happy person, and in every relationship in your life, a happy sister, a happy daughter, do it. Feel good about it. Yeah.
Cheers.